right. Oh, see, I got my glasses on. I was able to see. All right, we are live in the Florida Wrestling Room again. Uh, Once again, we're affectionately calling this show "Step to the Line" because what do we do when the kids are wrestling? They step to the line. I'm here with legendary coach, Hall of Fame inductee, Central Michigan Wrestling coach Tom Borrelli. And welcome to our new little show here, our little Florida Wrestling Room. As I told you off air, I had a couple of your alums on just about an hour or two ago, and I messed up his name. It's not Michalak, it's Mahalik. He adjusted me on that. And then I had Scotty Senta. So you must be proud of those two taking over that Campbell program. That's got to be happy for you to see. Also, I know your son is the head coach at Stanford. So good things happening for you, the kids you've coached in your lifetime. And I guess talk a little bit about how the career's been. And
Well, thanks for having me on, Daniel. And it's nice to see that you recognize our guys and they're out there doing good things in wrestling. So I've been very, very fortunate. I've coached wrestling for, almost 40 years. I think this year will be my 40th year of coaching wrestling as a head coach. So I've been very fortunate. I had a great career. It's been a real joy to be involved in this sport for as long as I have. And that's not even counting, that's just coaching. That's not even counting, competing in college and in high school. So had a long time to have a lot of fun in this sport.
that's cool. Yeah. And you've obviously had a lot of good kids that you've coached up along the way. I know how I met you was a friend of mine that wrestled for you at Lake Superior State. And he said, man, if I didn't come across that guy, I don't know where I'd end up in life. So obviously a lot of great things said about you. And so let's see, Hall of Fame, 29 years at Central Michigan, second all time in active coaches for dual wins. You've got, and correct me if I mess this up, 13 Mid-American titles, Central Michigan all-time wins leader, NCAA champs, 41 All-Americans, 86 MAC champs, 160 qualifiers. I can keep going. Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to coach some great athletes, and it's funny you talk about all those things, but you don't really remember all those championships. You remember all the fun times, the bus rides and the funny things that happened during practices, and just the goofy things I've said that have been quoted over the years, and those are the things that stick in your mind.
That's awesome. Yeah. Speaking of funny, I heard that you might have leg swept somebody on your motorcycle or something one day.
Yeah, well, me and my wife for when on our downtime, we like to ride Harleys, and sometimes you run into people that are a little bit ornery, and once in a while you have, you just have to hold them down until the cops get there.
And Scotty was like, ask him about his motorcycle. So that was cool. Good stuff, man. So obviously this year cut a little short, but pretty decent year, 8-4, 7-2 in the conference. You had 6 guys that qualified. Unfortunately, couldn't wrestle because it got cut short. You had one of your guys was the MAC Wrestler of the Year. Just talk about the year and then the unfortunate circumstances. How are your guys handling that?
Yeah, we had a good year this year as far as we were pretty young going in the year. We have 30 guys on our roster. We had one senior in the program, one senior this year, one senior last year. So we've been developing these guys, and they're coming along, and we really I think we came along a little faster than we thought we would this year. At the MAC tournament, there's 15 teams in our conference. Well, there were until this year. We lost a team at the end of this year, but anyway, this year in the conference tournament there were 15 teams. We finished second behind Missouri. We had a real good chance to beat them this year, but things just didn't work out. But we're the only team in the conference with multiple champions. We had 3 champions. Our 125-pounder Drew Hildebrand our 141 pounder, Dresden Simon, who was a tournament outstanding wrestler. And then our heavyweight, Matt Stencil, who was the MAC Wrestler of the Year this year. Those guys, all three, won conference championships, and no one else had more than one champion. So we felt good about our guys going into the NCAA tournament. Those three guys plus the other three guys who qualified. We felt real good about, our chances of having All-Americans, maybe even putting someone in the finals and have an opportunity to win a national championship. And things ended the way they did, but we were happy the way our guys peaked at the end of the year.
What, excuse me, I know that there was that big argument at the end of the year about give these guys another opportunity or give them some eligibility. And I know that wasn't given to them from what I had read previously. Has anything changed there? Is that still the sentiment? Is that still the decision? Is there still some sort of battle going on there to try to get these kids into a room?
No, I think that's a final decision. I don't think we'll get any relief on that. Unfortunately, it's sad that, you had guys that had unbelievable senior years, not at Central Michigan, but at other places that, won't get a chance to win that national championship. Even some guys that were seeded first in the country that were never All-Americans that never even got a chance to wrestle to be an All-American.
Yeah, someone needs to find a room in the country somewhere and just call them all up and let's go run it.
Yeah.
That would be fun, right?
Yeah, it'd be tough to get everybody to make weight right now, though.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole thing. I saw a meme yesterday or something that said, so much for don't eat out, eat at home, you'll lose weight. It's not working now. So a few questions that I asked the coaches, of course, about the programs and everything. So what are the core values that you instill in your program?
I think the first thing is, just a work ethic. You have to have a certain work ethic to be successful in our program. We do a lot of things that maybe aren't considered state of the. I guess the only way to put it is I'm kind of old school. I've been around a long time, and I still believe in some of those things. And with younger student athletes these days, sometimes it's things are presented in a different way, and we still do some of those old school things, and so you have to have a certain work ethic to fit in with us. Yeah, awesome. That's one of the things.
And so what does a typical week look like for your athletes in season and out of season?
Well, we'll start with in season. In season, we lift in the mornings, 3 days a week. So we'll get up 3 days a week. 2 days a week during the weekday at 6 in the morning and lift. So we have a workout at 6 in the morning. Is either lifting. 2 days we'll lift, and then the other 2 days we'll condition. So we'll do some type of either a track workout or something like that. This would be in the preseason, like in October and November. And we also are pretty. We have some goals for our guys, some distance goals as far as running, and some interval goals as far as running. So everything's timed, and everything's you have goals from week to week that we're trying to accomplish from a conditioning standpoint and also from a lifting standpoint. Our strength coaches put together good programs for our guys to bring them along strength wise and stuff. So that's the morning. That'd be 4 mornings a week in the preseason. And then the afternoon, our afternoon practices, our large group practices, usually for about 2 hours, 2 hours. And early in the year, we'll be working a lot of technique, doing a lot of drilling, maybe some long goes, what we call grind matches and stuff, to get your muscular endurance up and your wrestling conditioning up. And then as the year progresses, we don't do the conditioning in the mornings on the track. We still lift 2 mornings a week, but On the track, we're not doing that stuff. We more transition into individual time, individual workouts, one-on-one workouts with a coach, or a coach with two athletes. And we do a lot of individual technique things that guys, once we start competing, then we break down technique for different guys. Maybe a guy's having trouble getting off the bottom, or maybe he's having trouble with his finishes, or his level change in penetration, or whatever it might be. We'll do individual times 2 mornings a week, usually with guys, instead of the conditioning stuff. And then we might condition them after that workout, maybe on an Airdyne or a Versa climber or something like that for 10, 11 minutes. And then our afternoon practice stays the same. So
that's awesome. You keep these guys ready to go. And that's pretty cool. I mean, just obviously once you see them in action, you kind of can see where they're getting beat at, or not necessarily getting beat in the match, but kind of the moves that are kind of giving them issues, and you kind of focus in on that to get them better there. It sounds like that's awesome.
Yeah, I think that's real important, Daniel, is, when you're doing your large group workouts in practice, regular practice, 2-hour practice in the afternoon, you're really focusing on what the whole team needs to work on, and sometimes the guys want to work on the things that are unique to them, and so you have to do individual things for that.
Cool. So I've got these two questions kind of go together, because when you're recruiting, I'm sure you look for certain intangibles in your student athlete, and then and also on the back end of that, once you get them, how do you get your student athletes to balance between the wrestling and academics? Because obviously it's a big step up going from high school to college, and then having to balance being an NCAA Division I athlete and then excelling in the classroom.
Yeah. Well, the first thing we do is we look for good students when we recruit. Fortunately, at most universities, especially at Central Michigan University, we have what's called merit-based scholarships. So we have academic scholarships that are based on your GPA and your college entrance exams. And so we're always looking for guys that are going to be awarded those scholarships. So that means they're really good students coming out of high school. And then we can put athletic money together with that, stack those things, and maybe even if they're a lower socioeconomic kid, some Pell Grant money, so that we put a real good package together for them. So from a recruiting standpoint, you're looking for kids that, college isn't going to be real difficult for them. They're pretty well-rounded academically, and college is not going to be, college is going to be hard depending on what curriculum you get into, but someone who's doesn't have the academic foundation is really going to have a tougher time being able to be a student athlete, so we're kind of trying to avoid that from the start.
That's it's awesome, because I just interviewed 2 of your guys starting the program over at Campbell, and I asked them the same question, and almost exact word for word. So obviously they've been taught well, and they did. I did ask Scotty if he was messing with Mahalik at all, because you guys beat him this year. So I know he was at Michigan State, but even though he is a Chippewa, I said, have you messed with them? They got you this year.
Well, the toughest thing for me as a head coach is seeing those guys wearing different colors all the time. Like Wynn went from Central Michigan to Illinois for a while, and his parents would come to the matches, the Midlands or something like that, where we'd see Illinois and they'd be in orange, and I'd be like, what the heck is that? then he went to Michigan State, and he's wearing green, and I see his parents in green all the time. So and now they're going to be back in orange. Him and Scotty are back in orange. So, that like those colors don't look very good on you.
Yeah. They need to be back in Chippewa color, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I know we spoke a little bit off the air, and something that's obviously dear to your heart. You've been in this sport for your whole life. We saw what happened there with Old Dominion, and I know you wanted to speak a little bit on this subject and what this pandemic is kind of causing in the NCAAs right now.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention it to the wrestling fans out there and make sure that they're aware of what's going on in the NCAA right now. The conference commissioners, a large percentage of the conference commissioners, I think 27 of the 32 conference commissioners have some legislation pending right now, and they're meeting on it in the NCAA to get some reprieve on the sports sponsorship legislation. If you're a Division I school right now, you have to at least sponsor 16 sports, and they're trying to get that reduced to 14, and also the amount of scholarships you have to offer in Division I. They're trying to get that reduced, and that's real scary for not only wrestling but any Olympic sport, track, golf, tennis, swimming, any of those sports. If that goes through and there's a big push for it to go through, there's going to be a lot of sports dropped in NCAA, and I just want the wrestling community to understand what's going on behind the scenes and maybe be proactive before those dominoes start falling.
And what can, when you're saying proactive, how can the wrestling community get behind this? How can we get voices heard? How can I get people on the air to be able to say, hey, this is a solid community. We're building a great group of kids. All of our kids are coming out of college with degrees and going on to being successful adults. Who do we need to get on? Whose ear do we need to get into?
I think generally the things you mentioned need to be very well promoted nationally with the quote that is attributed to Dan Gable, once you've wrestled, everything in life is easy. I think those things need to be brought forward to generally to the presidents of the universities, to the athletic directors, to even people in the NCAA. They need to understand the importance of this sport in our society as a whole, and what it does for young people in building character. And then I think alums of universities that still have wrestling need to get together, and they need to make sure that they somehow make the ADs and the presidents, the alums need to all get together and say, hey, we're not going to let this go away. This is too important to us. It's too important to the future of, a lot of times kids of alums end up going to that school and doing the same things at that school. So, I guess my point is they need to start getting organized, as soon as possible, and talking to each other and making sure that people at the universities and nationally understand, hey, this is real important to us.
Absolutely. So somehow we need to get a hold of one of these NCAA committee members and get them on here so we can find out, we can tell them how important this is. We all just need to share the word, and everybody in this wrestling community needs to know that. And I've just seen what it does for my child the last 2 years, and it's done wonders for him. So, and then meeting all these people in the community, being in the gyms the last year and a half or whatever. I think I posted once in the Florida Wrestling Room, I've never been out around a community like this before. Nobody is more together or more attached or cares more about other people's kids than I've seen in wrestling parents and coaches, and just kids in general. So yeah, I would hate to see anything affect that. And if anybody out there is listening, and I'll share this video, I'll put it on YouTube, I'll send it to you if you want to share it. Let's get the word out there to the NCAA and let them know that this is a sport that really does create amazing adults and amazing people. So yeah, hopefully we can help in that, Coach.
Yeah, well, the difficult thing right now, and I hate to be selfish a little bit, but I coach in Division I. Now I coached in Division II when I was at Lake Superior State, so I understand, the smaller divisions. But the smaller divisions are more enrollment driven, so you want to have a broad-based athletic department because you're trying to attract students to your school, to up the enrollment and to for money, because enrollment brings in money. paying tuition and stuff. So I don't think they're as much in danger as the Division I schools right now, because Division I schools, they're not enrollment driven. Everything's based on money and things like that. Well, eventually they might become enrollment driven, but right now it's more about balancing the budget and what can we do to balance the budget. And the Olympic sports are really in peril right now.
Well, I'm glad that you took the time to educate me and everybody that'll hear this on that situation, and let's try and we'll try and get our voice heard. We've been trying to do that here in Florida with girls wrestling. We had them on the other day to try to get them sanctioned. So we're definitely trying to take advantage of this small little platform that we have. So I do appreciate you educating me on that. So before we wrap this up, first of all, appreciate you coming on. We can do it anytime. Maybe we can get your son on too from Sanford. That'd be exciting. I'm sure he's quarantined too, like the rest of us. And then, so why Central Michigan? I'm a kid out here, and I want to go to college, and I'm good enough to wrestle Division I. And why do I choose Coach Borrelli and his staff?
Well, I think our forte over the years has been development. Obviously, we've had some blue chip kids in our program, like Wynn Mahalik, like Scotty Sentes. Scotty was a 4-time state champion in Florida, and we were fortunate that he had some roots in Michigan. But mostly our guys aren't the guys that are blowing everybody away. When it comes to results in high school, they're not the guys you walk into the gym and you're in there for 10 minutes and you say, I want that guy. We're looking for guys that maybe are 1 or 2 steps below that blue chip kid coming out of high school. And we feel like we're very, very good at developing those guys. And then we're good at identifying guys that maybe are coming on late in high school, like their senior year in high school, or have been overlooked a little bit. And they come to our program, and because they have that work ethic and they enjoy the way we train them, and they can tolerate that, they end up doing special things.
Awesome. Well, that's good to know. So obviously, I've had interviews. 3 of my interviews today are young coaches that came from your program. I have a good friend of mine that came from your program, and you're doing great things out there, and I appreciate you coming on. Anytime you would like to chat, man, feel free to reach out. If we can get anybody on that you feel like we need to fill their ear, let me know, and we'll try and grab them.
All right, Daniel. Thank you. Thank you for the time.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And I like to give a shout out to Florida a little bit. We have a guy on our team right now from Florida. He was a redshirt this year. Johnny Lovett from Miami Southridge. And then he's going to do great things there at Central Michigan.
Awesome. Yeah. So Florida wrestling is definitely blossoming. So we look forward to seeing more kids go through your program.
Thank you.
All right, sir.